There is a news story out there tonight on the Senate's investigation about the mysterious phone calls that were made by Donald Trump Jr. ahead of the infamous Trump Tower meeting. Now, you may remember from the reporting on this that some congressional investigators wanted to know who a blocked phone number was and whether or not he had made a call to his father before that big meeting, then candidate Donald Trump.
Shortly after arranging the meeting, Don Jr. made an 11-minute phone call to a blocked number. Asked if he remembers who that call was with, Trump Jr. said, "I don't."
There were questions about a phone call he made to a blocked number, and it has been pointed out that his father has a blocked number.
It would be hard to believe that Don Jr. didn't mention it to his father.
It's counterintuitive to think he didn't tell his father.
Well, and the real question is whether or not he did, right? He has said that he didn't. Now, we've got this ABC News report that is coming out tonight that cites investigators on the Senate Intel panel who say that those blocked phone calls were not between Donald Trump Jr. and his father. They were actually calls that were made to two friends and business associates, according to the early reporting on this. Here now on this and other things tonight, Trey Gowdy, former South Carolina Republican congressman and House Oversight Committee chairman, now a partner at Nelson Mullins law firm in South Carolina. And tonight, he makes his debut as a Fox News contributor. And we hope that we're going to see him on a weekly basis here on the story. So good to see you tonight, Trey Gowdy. Thank you very much and congratulations. Welcome.
Yes,
welcome to the family.
Thank you. Thank you for the job.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. So, first of all, your reaction to this, because it strikes me, and, we're still learning about this story. As I mentioned, it's an ABC report that I just cited. But what it strikes me is that you see all of the sort of hyperbole and all the guessing about what it was before anybody knows what it is. And we've seen a heck of a lot of that.
It's the biggest distinction between what I call serious investigations and political investigations where you speculate rampantly. The first thing I wanted to do was call Richard Burr, who's the chairman of the Senate Intel Committee, and thank him for running a serious investigation where they actually figure out the facts before they make allegations, because sometimes some folks do it in the reverse order. They make these wild allegations, and all of your viewers may not be around to see the truth. They heard the accusation, but they may miss the truth, and that's why you don't do that in serious investigations.
I think one of those people that you're referring to is Adam Schiff, who you've been very critical of in this whole process, saying that he made up his mind before he saw any of the evidence. Is that true? Is that your feeling on it?
Well, I'm just quoting him. He had evidence that rises above the level of circumstantial evidence, but not quite direct. And, of course, there is no such thing, that President Trump colluded with Russia. I think Adam also said there's a very real chance Donald Trump is going to be indicted and or arrested the day he leaves office. Adam uniquely was both a federal prosecutor and now he's a member of Congress. I like the Adam Schiff who is a federal prosecutor better, where you actually are presumed innocent and you have to go in a courtroom and prove these things as opposed to just speculating and accusing people.
I also want to ask you about this Nellie Orr story that she was investigating when she worked for Fusion GPS. She was doing opposition research, and campaigns do this stuff. They look into the family members. They try to see if they can dig up any dirt. And they looked into Melania Trump. They looked into the Trump children as well. But what you say is that you've never seen in a federal investigation the kind of circle that also involved her husband, Bruce Orr, who was at the Department of Justice, which was, of course, investigating the Trump campaign.
It's the strangest fact pattern I think I've ever seen. You have a private entity in Fusion GPS, and they're working with Chris Steele, who was an FBI source, but then was terminated for violating his FBI agreement. And you are kind of laundering this information, this private information, to the world's premier law enforcement agency and to the Department of Justice, and you're using a DOJ official as the conduit of that information. So it's really surprising. I would think in a different political environment, everyone would be outraged because you are running the risk of privatizing crime. If you can hire a group to dig up information and then use a DOJ official who gets his information from a terminated FBI source, and it still winds up in the hands of the federal government, that should alarm all of us, and I hope that we get back to a time in our lives where it is alarming to everyone.
Very interesting. Last thought, Roger Stone, there's a lot of discussion about the raid at his house and whether or not it was disproportionate to what they are looking for from him. They said today they got terabytes, which I guess is tons and tons of information from his house, and, you know, perhaps to sort of shore up the notion that this was all necessary. What do you think?
I want to make sure I don't do the very thing that I started off your show by being upset that others do, which is speculate. I think they should bring in Chris Wray. Chris is a Trump appointee. He was a federal prosecutor. He's a serious guy, whether you like President Trump or not. Chris Wray is a serious guy. Bring him in and ask him why the Bureau thought that amount of force was necessary, whether or not they were going to execute a search warrant while they were there, if they had any evidence that Roger Stone might be a flight risk. Ask Chris Wray. It is not Bob Mueller's fault. The prosecutor does not decide what weaponry to use when you effectuate an arrest. The FBI does. So bring him in and ask him.
Yeah, and they use what they think they need. So we'll see. Trey Gowdy, great to have you with us, and welcome to the family.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.